Hello everybody, Addie P Pants here,
And Addie's daddy.
and we just got back from an exciting adventure to TeddyCon, our second time.
It was so much fun. We met a bunch of new people. Shout out to our friends in Buffalo. And we got to connect with a bunch of friends that we haven't seen for a long time.
Now we've already reviewed last year's TeddyCon experience, so I'm not going to get into too much detail about that right now.
I think it's safe to just say it was better this year than it was last year. And we're looking forward to next year.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
This is one of my new outfits I picked up from the little Kink Boutique, little pajama set. And I got a new friend, George the giraffe, and we got Raccoon the panda bear.
Yes. Thank you, everyone who offered suggestions to name the panda. We thought Raccoon was the best.
He's a trans-species panda bear that identifies as a raccoon. And then I got a little Binky Buddy as well.
I hate it. It squeaks.
I haven't completely decided the name, but someone suggested Love Bug, and I kind of like that name.
That's cute.
Yeah, it's
That's
kind of cute.
But it squeaks.
It squeaks, and it holds my binky. So, yay! Anyway, what I really wanted to talk about is the little adventure, crazy episode we had
in the Philadelphia airport.
going through security in a diaper.
Well,
We've all wondered before, I see a lot of threads out there, people asking, people wondering what that's like, what could happen, and well, I have done it a few times before, and this was by far the most interesting experience with that.
That's to say, interesting is being very generous, I think.
It's a little euphemistic.
Yeah. It was horrible.
Yeah, so I had been wearing a Tykables overnight diaper, a kind of thicker, long-term diaper, for a while that day, and our flight wasn't until 9 o'clock that evening, and it was around 6 o'clock, I think.
Yeah.
We got to the security checkpoint, checking in, getting early, like we're supposed to, especially in case of something like this happening. And anyway, my diaper was like halfway to capacity.
If that.
And I wasn't quite ready to change it, so I figured I thought I could get it through all the way home and change when we got home.
Yeah.
But
Nope.
that didn't happen.
Officer Houston.
I was forcibly made to change out of my diaper because, well, they were patting me down after the diaper usually triggers the scanner. It makes them think like, oh, something's going on there. We gotta give a little extra pat down. So they're doing their pat down, rubbing all up in there, and patting my butt and like making me pull my waistband out just a little bit.
And totally see the diaper.
Oh yeah, it's no secret.
Yeah.
And normally they kind of check it out and they let me go on my way. It's not really much of an issue.
Right.
But this particular time, they just really, I think because it was wet, we kind of figured out that they just really couldn't, I don't know exactly what they're feeling for.
Per Officer Houston,
but
we cannot verify if that is urine or not.
Yeah.
It could be drugs.
It could have been drugs.
Yeah. Or gasoline.
I could have been a coke smuggling baby.
Yeah.
But I was not. I promise it was just pee-pee.
Yeah. So I went through fine. I'm standing on the other side of the TSA line there, and this big, huge officer guy, TSA guy, is patting Addie down, and he's looking so embarrassed. I mean, he was just like, oh, shoot, what am I getting myself into? And I'm over there, and instantly I'm like, oh, this is going to be so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. And then everybody in line is watching like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? We've got a mule that's smuggling stuff, or what's, looking around and stuff. And then they ushered him back into this little room.
Yep.
And I was like, that's it. I'll never see Addie again. He's gone. They're going to send him to Guantanamo Bay or something. I don't know.
I was pretty scared when that happened. But at the same time, I knew, I wasn't hiding anything. I wasn't a bad guy. So I figured if I just listened to what they said and did what they asked, that eventually it would be okay. And, they really asked me point blank, like, what's going on there? And I told them it was a diaper. And I thought it was really funny that no matter how many times I told them it was a diaper, they insisted on calling it my incontinence.
Yeah, my
Which
incontinence
is a condition, not an item of clothing. But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
And then there was a moment after, like, so the first guy patted me down, wasn't good enough, had to go in the private room. The supervisor had to get involved.
Officer Houston.
Officer Houston. He was the supervisor.
Yeah, he was trying very hard to assert his position as the supervisor.
And when he did the same pat down in the private room, and he's like, no, I can't clear you. And then he, like, walked out, and he had a little talk with you.
Yeah, I was getting a little snippy with him.
And
I was
so,
like, it's a diaper. What's the deal here? Why can't you just let him go through? And then I said, maybe you should just change him while you're at it. And he's like, you're telling me to change his diaper? I'm like, no, I'm just offering it as a suggestion. Yeah, I was getting a little testy.
So, Officer Houston came back, and he was, again, just like, you could really tell both the original TSA guy and Officer Houston were very uncomfortable about this whole situation. And he kind of, like, tentatively asked me, he's like, is it possible that maybe you've soiled it a little? And I was like, I mean, I wasn't laughing or grinning, but in my mind I was. It was funny. And, you know, and the whole time they never really were presenting me with, like, other options, other ways I could cooperate. And that was kind of the most frustrating part, was that they just really didn't, like, they seemed to believe me that I wasn't a bad guy, but they just, you know, they got to do their procedures and their steps.
And I think it got to the point, too, where Officer Houston was saving face and was like, I've got to take this all the way through to the very end, because if I don't, then I'm going to look bad.
So the next step was he had to call the police officer.
Philadelphia Police Department.
Yeah. And the big friendly police officer, I thought he was friendly.
He was pretty awesome, actually.
He just showed up, and he was like, well, what do you want me to do?
Well, yeah, they opened the door, and he came walking in, and he just had this look on his face like, you are inconveniencing me so much. And then Officer Houston told him what was going on, and he's like, yeah, what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah, he like, you know, can you do a more thorough check? Anything else? But they said from the beginning, they're like, we're not going to ask you to, like, take off your pants or anything, like, more invasive.
Well, yeah, Officer Houston asked you directly, can they do a more thorough check? Or these are your choices. We can do a more thorough check, or you can not fly.
And I was like, well, of course I'm going to fly.
Yeah.
And so finally, it was suggested, I think we even offered it.
I suggested, I said, would it make sense for him to go back through security, go out, change his diaper, put on a dry one, come back through the scanner, and no harm, no foul. And they all kind of looked at each other like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that would be a good, yeah, I think you should do that. And it's like, well, here's the diaper right here. Addie had one in the backpack.
Oh, yeah. I'm always prepared.
Yeah. So I went and sat down, and Addie went back out, and probably 10 minutes later, it probably took you a good 10 minutes.
The police officer, man, escorted me out of the private room, back past security, and he pointed me to the elevator, and while we were kind of, like, you know, walking side by side away from everyone, he was asking me a little more. He's like, so what do you got again? And I was just like, I just told him incontinence, which, of course, was a lie, but...
Well, and then while Addie was going through security the second time, the same officer came over to me.
Officer Houston had to pick me up again.
Yeah, Officer Houston was dealing with you, but the police officer guy was over, and he comes over and goes, so, I gotta ask, between you and I, what's the deal? And I figured Addie was using the incontinence angle, so I totally put on my Oscar award-winning performance and was like, he has been incontinent his entire life. And do you know how embarrassing and humiliating this is? Those TSA guys were horrible, and they couldn't even leave the door locked. People were coming in and out. I didn't know what was going on. Addie was so humiliated, he couldn't even offer a solution like getting his... I had to come in and offer that solution. And he was just like mortified, and he felt so bad. He's like, okay, well... this is not going to have, I'm not going to put any of this in this report. I got to fill out a report, but what did he say he was going to do?
He told me he was going to make sure it didn't say anything about my particular issue, I think is what he said. And he said
incontinence.
he said it was going to instead say that I had a verbal altercation or disagreement or something to that effect.
Which I'm still not okay with.
Well, I feel like it's kind of like protecting the TSA officer.
Totally, yeah, because...
And just because he didn't know what to do. And, like, I don't know. I guess I like to think that after it's all said and done, he would get a little lesson on what the proper procedure really is, because they were pretty unprepared.
I'm sure the Philadelphia police officer had a few choice words for Officer Houston.
Maybe so.
Which I wish I could be a fly on the wall for that one.
Maybe he gave him a spanking.
Ooh! Speaking of...
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't want to spank
No
him.
spankings.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Eventually I got through, and we got on our flight, and we came home, and it was all good.
Yeah, so
But
top tips on flying on the plane. The thinnest diaper you possibly can wear and bone dry.
It should be dry at least.
And be honest
if you
about
can
it.
help it. And if you want to get through with a wet diaper, hopefully it's not too wet, and at least there's some room to kind of squish up pretty close, because that's really what the issue was. They said there was just too much padding there. They couldn't feel that it was flush or whatever. It was confusing.
The sap swelled too much,
Well,
and it was
yeah.
like he was walking around with a pillow in his crotch. That's what the
Yeah.
deal was.
So
And they didn't want to squeeze it.
silly adventures
Which is my
in the
favorite thing
life
to do.
of a diaper boy
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a video on Addie's gender. I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm a little bit of both.
Yeah. So, So I think, too, I would urge everybody, if you get stopped and you get somebody like Officer Houston, play the incontinence card. That's just the easiest way to do it. Or you could really freak them out and say, I have a fetish. I like diapers. I'm into age play. And I'm just about ready to start having a temper tantrum and crying right here if you keep doing this, because this is a trigger or something like that.
But if you're any kind of good actor, the incontinence angle is a great way to really flip the tables on them and make them feel bad, because you've lived with this disability of sorts all
this
your
challenge,
life. Challenge, condition, whatever you want to call it. And, then you can all of a sudden make them feel bad and embarrassed that they have to do it at all.
Yeah, well, and I think, too, there was some preconceived judgments going on, because you're pretty able-bodied, you're young, and white, and you're wearing a diaper.
And I'm wearing a diaper.
Well, and you're kind of bending the genders a little bit, because you had your makeup on and stuff.
I had my hair done kind of like this.
Yeah.
I didn't have any makeup on that day.
I guess not, yeah.
But I was still looking a little queer.
If you were 75 and in a wheelchair, I think they would have probably just let you fly right through. And be
That's
like,
true.
Give them a pass.
And that whole job is supposed to be about having no prejudice.
Yeah.
You're supposed to...
Yeah. But I do want to say, kudos to the TSA department in the Philadelphia airport for keeping us safe and sticking to their guns on it. Even though it was embarrassing and inconvenient and frustrating, they were doing their job.
That's right. I mean, I really can't be mad about it at all. Just post 9/11 life.
Yeah. So, hey, Officer Houston, if you're out there on YouTube surfing around and you see this video.
No.
He was a jerk.
He could have done some things
job.
better, but he has a hard job to do, Daddy.
Yeah, I know.
And I was just the last person he was expecting to see that day.
Well, and I was being a little challenging.
You kind of were. You liked that sometimes.
I do kind of like to stand up and be kind of
You got to be protective Daddy Bear.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our story. It was pretty exciting and memorable, and gonna learn a lesson, I guess, for next time we fly.
Yeah. And in the meantime, between now and our next video, if there's other topics that you want, just put them down in the comments, and we'll be more than happy to consider doing them.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That's all for now. Bye.
Bye. Brrr.
Is that the sound giraffes make?
I think so. I don't know. It sounded good. What did you think? What's a panda make?
That's the eating bamboo sound.
Yeah. Crunch, crunch.
And then sleeping. They sleep a lot too, don't they? Bye.
Bye.